I've played a lot of video games in my 23 years on this silly little planet. I've had a bunch of consoles in my time, from the PSP to the Wii to now being a primarily PC gamer. But there is one console that stands out from the crowd. One console that had the biggest effect on me growing up. And that console was the PlayStation 2. On this console were many games that I would spend hours upon hours playing, instead of socializing or doing homework like the little rebel I was. Some of these games included Jak 2, Spy vs Spy, The Sims 2 Castaway, Star Wars Battlefront 2, FIFA 2004, Wallace and Gromit: The Curse of the Were-Rabbit for some reason. But among all of those, one game in particular, one from a franchise that today, between the hundreds of games I have on PC, the PS3, the DS, and my phone, a series that remains my favorite series of games, which also includes my #1 favorite game of all time, and that game is Happy Feet on the Play.
Psych!
This was the first game in the series I played, and it sure as hell wasn't the last. I have played through this game more times than I can remember, so I think I'm worthy of making a video essay review thingy about it. Also, I'm not going to go into too much detail about the story and all that, since, number one, if you're watching this, you're probably a big fan of the series and know just how fucking amazing this game is. And number two, there are plenty of videos about this game already, so there isn't much more for me to add. So, the basic story of the game is that Ratchet and Clank are feeling washed up and useless after defeating Drek by turning him into a sheep. Just kidding, we like to pretend that never happened. A man called Abercrombie and Fitch notices them and proceeds to kill them instantly. Ratchet then gets sent on a mission to retrieve a killer Furby before it can rain havoc on the galaxy. Clank then gets kidnapped and dies. The dynamic duo then go to multiple different planets across the galaxy to follow the thief, who actually turns out to be a sexy furry babe who totally returns later in the series as a regular reoccurring character. They then team up with Lola Bunny to stop the Furbies from overpopulating. By the end of the game, they end up fighting a giant Furby in a boss fight that is so riveting that it makes Ornstein and Smo shit themselves. So yeah, that's a brief summary of what happens in the game. While the story isn't exactly anything spectacular, it's filled with great jokes and character moments that make me chuckle like an old man who just watched his wife fall down the stairs.
Alright, just what the f is going on?
However, the best part of the game has to be the gameplay. This game introduces strafing to the series, which was very much needed since the gameplay in the first game was such ass. But overall, this game feels just great to play. While Up Your Arsenal really struck gold with how perfect Ratchet moves, this was such a vast improvement on the first game that I just can't brush by it. What also greatly improved from the first game was the weapon selection. You know, the selling point of these games. This game has some banger weapons. You wouldn't catch me walking down the streets without a plasma coil in one hand and a Rhino 2 in the other, as well as a Clank Zapper strapped to my back. By far though, the best weapons in the game are the chopper and the lava gun. Another great aspect of the game is the puzzles and platforming. While some of these puzzles are these wank little reflex testers, there are some pretty clever puzzles like the ones that use the tractor beam. 7-year-old me was scratching his head while drooling over his DualShock 2 like, huh? And while the platforming takes a bit of a backseat compared to the first game, there are still some platforming challenges that make me want to smash my controller through a wall and eat the insulation. The series as a whole has kinda left the platforming as more of a secondary if not tertiary aspect of the gameplay, because ever since Insomniac Games blew their load with Ratchet Deadlock, the future games really focused on the gunplay. And of course, that's not a bad thing, you know, the future games are fantastic. The next amazing thing about this game are the planets. This game is loaded with planets. While Rift Apart is amazing, despite me not actually being able to play it yet, its pathetic little 9 planets do not compare to Going Commando's 21 planets, including ship levels, from the swampy planet Uzla to the freezing cold Siberius to the empty crystal-filled desert of Tabora. This game has a huge variety in level design that's almost hard to comprehend. These levels are filled to the brim with secrets to find, as well as a diverse set of enemies making them feel more alive. While you clearly started to run out of time towards the late game, there are so many memorable locations in this game. And something else memorable that complemented these levels is the soundtrack. Next to Doom 2016 and The Binding of Isaac, this game has my favourite goddamn soundtrack of all time. From the godlike orchestral score of Uzla, to the brimming sound of Planet Endako, this game has everything. You want to relax while walking through a desert wasteland? Look no further. Want to hear a badass James Bond style bass solo? Planet Tadano is the place to be. Want to feel completely fucking badass and unstoppable? Then turn that shit on Planet Bolden up to 11, my dude. Between the sexy ass music, to the beautiful and creative level design, to the memorable and lovable characters, Ratchet and Clank Going Commando is an experience like no other. No matter how many games I play on my trusty little gaming PC, no matter how many games of Fortnite I win, no matter how many Dark Souls bosses I conquer, this game will always have a soft spot in my heart for my favourite thing to play, no matter what mood I'm in. I recently played through it twice while I was on break from college, and I enjoyed it just as much as I did when I was a wee young lad, and I think I will love it just as much when I am sitting in a retirement home with pudding dripping down my chin. This game is an absolute masterpiece from start to finish that, in my opinion, has only been rivaled since the release of Ratchet and Clank: A Crack in Time. Yeah, that's right, Ratchet and Clank fandom. I prefer Going Commando to up your arsenal. What are you going to do about it? Hit me with your flimsy little whopper? But yeah, I hope you enjoyed my little review of the game. This game truly is my favourite game of all time, and I think it always will be, no matter how old I get. With the recent success of Rift Apart, I really hope we get more Ratchet and Clank in our future. And judging by some of the stuff in Rift Apart, I don't think Insomniac Games has lost the plot. Yet. Also, I forgot about the final segment of the video. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first annual DAZA Absolute Bullshit Award. You have all cast in your votes over the last few weeks, but it is now finally time to announce the winner. The contenders this year have been the Bed of Chaos, the entirety of Fortnite, Apex Legends Arena's matchmaking, and finally, the Snow Beast level from Ratchet and Clank Going Commando. And now, the first ever DAZA Absolute Bullshit Award goes to... Alright, I don't need to drag this bit out any longer. Of course it's the fucking Snow Beast level. Before I go, here's a few clips of me breaking the game, just so I can pad out the runtime of this video.